Hey y'all, welcome back to Life with Nana. I'm Nana and I'm so glad you're here with me today in the kitchen. So today I thought we'd have some fun in the kitchen and we're going to be making my mom's fried chocolate pies. Before we get to that, we're going to be making a savory version of a fried pie. You're not going to need many of each ingredient. So this is going to go a long way. So I don't know how many this is going to make. I have a feeling I'm going to have some filling left over. And if we do, that's just fine. We'll use it with tortilla wraps or whatever. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be fun. So one thing I like to do when we do these big meal days is to go ahead and prep other things so my appliances can be working for me. So I'm going to be over by the stove anyway, so I thought I would go ahead and I have 2 packs of bacon that I need to cook, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cook them in the oven. And you have to remember when you're cooking bacon in the oven, it will crisp up when you bring it back out and it starts cooling down. So if you cook it crispy, really crispy, it's going to be extra crispy when you bring it back out. Also going to use a little bit of this bacon in our hand pies. So let's see if I can get my hand where you can see. So this is just thick bacon from the big box store. It's cut thick. I like that better. All right, I already washed my hands because I've been cleaning up the kitchen. So we're just gonna put this bacon, and you can see that I have my pan wrapped in aluminum foil, and I have a rack that sits down in here. I love going ahead and getting some things prepped. I have another pan here, a garbage can over there. All right, so I'm gonna set this one aside. We're gonna go ahead and open the other pan. All right, we're gonna get this pan filled up and we're gonna get this in the oven. That's how that looks. And I'm gonna get these 2 in the oven. So in my skillet here, I have a half a pound of ground beef and a half a pound of ground pork. And then I had about 4 pieces of bacon that I thought we would just fry all up together. So I'm gonna turn my eye on. By the end, this is just gonna be all mixed together beautifully. It's gonna taste wonderful, I'm sure. Now, today I'm taking a shortcut with the dough. Because I'm making my mama's fried chocolate pies, I'm gonna be using store-bought biscuits because that's what she did. Okay, we got our bacon out of the oven and it's cooling over here on some paper towel. So that's gonna be fantastic. I have that already done. Now in this skillet, I have my pork browned up, my meat browned up. I wanna bring you over. I want you to look at the brownness on this meat. Do you see how wonderful that looks? This is going to give this tons of flavor. Now I've had this turned down on to low. I'm going to turn it back to medium. And I'm going to add my salt. This may seem like a lot of salt, but we're going to have a lot of vegetables also to cook. So we're going to put a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder. We're going to give this a stir. Move it around. Make sure it gets on every single little piece. I have some cilantro. This is about maybe a teaspoon. These two this is flour, and this is some brown gravy mix. I'm going to mix those two together. And we're going to add this. And I may have to add just a little bit of fat to this to get it where I want it. I'm not going to add it all yet because I want to see how it looks. Okay, I think I can put the rest of it in there and we'll be fine. All right. So this will start thickening everything up as we're cooking our vegetables, because our vegetables are going to give off some fluid. So in this bowl, I have the potatoes and carrots and onions that you're going in. This is an eight cup bowl, so I'm thinking I had about 4 cups in there. If that's not right, I'll put something on the screen. I'm turning this back up to a little bit higher. I'm going to add my cabbage in. And this is probably 2 cups of shredded cabbage. I also have, and this is optional, this is some pico de gallo seasoning that I made out of, I freeze dried it and made some powder out of it, and I'm going to add that. It's completely optional. If you want some tomato in this, then you can certainly add some tomato into it. And we're going to get this cooking. And this is going to have to cool before we can start making our pies. So we're going to get this cooked up. Look how great that looks. Now, that cabbage is going to shrink down. The potatoes and onions are all going to shrink down. I know right now it looks like a lot of vegetables going on in here, but a lot of this is going to shrink down, and you're not going to have to, you're going to have about the same amount, I think, of meat to vegetable ratio. Whew, my pan's getting hot. Let me see, do I have anything else over here? Yep. All right. So we're going to get this cooking. I'm going to cook this on medium high until the potatoes and onions are done. Okay. All right, so I have the ground beef and ground pork and all the vegetables and all the spices and salt and pepper and all the stuff. I have all that in this pan. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm trying to get it to cool off a little bit. But before it cools down, I want to add about a half a cup of ricotta cheese. And then I have a little less than 2 cups, or right at 2 cups, half mozzarella, half sharp cheddar. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to stir all this together, and then when I get it to the consistency I want it, I'm going to put it in a different pan so that it can cool, and we'll get started on our fried chocolate pies. All right, so now we're going to get started on my mom's fried pies. Now, let me show you what she used. I used the same thing. It's just a canned biscuit. The cheaper ones is what she always used, so that's what I use. Feel free to make your own pastry. I think it would be delicious. We may try that one day. Oh, if you jumped, you have to give me a like, because I jumped. So these have 10 in them, and I'm probably gonna, that's probably all I'm gonna make of the chocolate fried pie. I have butter that should have been at room temperature, but I forgot to lay it out. It's gonna be fine. And then here I have my cocoa and sugar mixture. Now this is about 1 1/3 cups of sugar to 3 tablespoons of cocoa. You can taste the sugar. You can definitely taste the cocoa powder. Now, One thing about these kinds of pies, these are gonna, once we fry them up, the butter's gonna melt. It's gonna melt into this. And I have talked to people who have had trouble getting it to melt right. All right, once you get your pie made, make sure that when you put your pie into the oil, and you want it completely sealed. You do not want any, like if you were baking something, a pie like this, you would have vent holes. You don't want to do that with these. You want these to be completely sealed. Because if it's not, it's going to mess up your oil and you're just going to have to dump that oil and start all over, and it's a big mess. But once these are cooked and all of this soaks up the butter, so you're going to put it in butter side down into your hot oil. And once this is cooked and all that butter melts into this, it just makes a wonderful old-fashioned chocolate fried pie. They do have a gritty kind of texture to them. So if that's not your thing, maybe this is not something that you're going to be fond of. Now, I have heard people say that they have used something like chocolate ganache or some sort of pudding or something like that in them. Our family, that's just not Mama's pies, you know. So if I'm going to go to the trouble, for me, this is just me in my kitchen, if I'm going to go to the trouble to do this, I want it to be like my mom's. And this is what she did. Anyway, he did. He took that. There's no telling how many pies there was. And he had them with him. So he had a little bit of my mom with him. And he was a sweetie, and I miss him. So anyway, we are going to make these fried pies. The first thing we're going to do is put down a little bit of flour onto our board. Got a rolling pin here. And we're going to take a biscuit. We're just going to pat it around on the flour. So you just keep rolling them out until you get them. My mom's would be, you know, about this big. Mine I don't tend to make mine and quite that big. So. You just want to keep moving it around. You don't want to get it too thin so that it will tear on you when you go to pick it up and put it on your, get my handy dandy little skipper thing there. So the trick is to put about a tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon, right in the center. All right? And then you're going to cut, can you see that? And we're going to lay that on top of this mixture. We're going to kind of pull it to the side. This is going to melt and spread out. I really don't feel like this has enough of this in here. If you don't feel like it, put just a tad bit more. It's not going to hurt anything. Then I'm going to take my finger, and I'm just going to dip it around into the water, and I'm going to go right around the edge of this. Because we want these to stick together really well. Then we're going to fold this over. And I've got a little fork here, and we're just going to go around, and we're going to make sure that these are closed off as good as we can. We want to make sure that none of the gooey inside comes out. And then I'm going to make sure that each one of these, I have a pan here, So each one of these that I make, I'm going to make sure that the butter is up. So I know when I put it in the pan to turn it over and make sure that the butter side is down. Now, if you can't get it to work out the way you want it to, you can always take room softened butter and this mixture of the cocoa and the sugar, and you can mix enough butter into that until you get somewhat of a paste, and then you can do it that way and put that on the inside your pie. I've made thousands of these in my lifetime. I always help Mom make them. Okay, so we're just going to add our chocolate. And what I mix up here, I may have to mix up some more. Not a big deal if I do. I'm just going to gently roll these over and get them to the other edge. Then we're going to take our fork and make a pretty little edge all the way around. And that's basically it, guys. This is not hard to do at all. We're going to continue this process until I have a pan full. And then I'll heat up the stove and we will fry them up. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but you can tell there's the butter. And so I want this upside down. I want that to go in first. So we don't want to crowd our pan. So we're going to do probably 3 of these at a time. And you want to let them cook until you start seeing them brown slightly around the edge. I have a couple of spatulas here that I can use to turn with. And I can see this one's already browning. See there? Look at that. That's looking wonderful. These look perfect. I'm really tickled with how these are turning out. I want to check the other side. Not hardly brown enough. That one's not. This one is. So this is what we're looking for. Nice and brown. And I'm going to try to remember to put them butter side up. Remember, I flipped them, so I should have them butter side up this way. All right. There we go. First 3 down. The delicate balance on how hot you want your oil, because you don't want it too hot that it's going to burn them before you can get the brown on the dough and the dough fully cooked and the butter melted the way we want it to. Okay, that one's brown, so we can flip it. All right. Whoops. This one didn't seal well, so that is going to make a mess. But we're going to turn it over. And I'm going to try to seal it with the edge of my spatula. If they don't seal well, they're going to mess up your oil. Now I'm only frying 10, so I'm hoping I can get these 10 fried up and not have to change my oil out. These are looking good. Of course, that one didn't seal very well. So I'm going to turn it back up just a little bit. If they start getting too much, too hot, they're going to start like sliding Since this one didn't seal very well, that grease is going to start pulling that inside out. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one up. These are getting nice and brown, just the way we want them. All right, I think these can come out. I want to flip them over so that the butter side is the side that's going to melt down in that cocoa and sugar mixture really well. Can you see the butter? All right, we're going to put this in butter side down. We're also going to put that one in butter side down. We're going to do them all that way if possible. These are looking fantastic. I hope that our savory ones turn out as well as these do. You really want to try to only flip them one time. This brings me back right to my mama's kitchen. Frying chocolate pies. What one recipe takes you back to your childhood? What one thing? This is one of those recipes for me. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn this off. And we are going to get set up to do our fried savory pies. All right. Now we're back. We're going to do the savory version of these pies. And I have way more filling than I'm going to need. I had planned on doing some for the freezer, but Nana's just too tired. So we will eat this in a different way, what's left. Are y'all ready? I hate this. I hate when these things pop. Y'all ready? Okay. All right. But I wanted something that was more kind of old-fashioned. Now, we don't want to overstuff these. I'm thinking about 1.5 tablespoons is going to be plenty of filling. And then we're going to do just like we did on the chocolate ones. You'll see it's the same process, whether you're making sweet or savory. Okay, press that down. This you have a little more leeway to mess around with it a little bit, you know. Press it down. Makes it a little fuller. These will be excellent once they are fried up. You can eat them just right then. Or if you put them in the refrigerator, which is what I'll do with part of these, you could put them in the air fryer. You want to try to keep your filling right in the center, so when you fold this over, it stays where it needs to. That one needs just a little bit more. I don't know how many biscuits is in this can. I didn't count them. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. Should have been 10. The other one had 13, so that's pretty good. I guess they tried to even it out. This is my least favorite part. Rolling out the biscuit dough. Some people find it soothing. Doing the same task over and over. I'm not one of those people. If you are, that's great though. God made us all different for reasons. So let me show you my bacon. Let me turn this around. Get the bacon. Doesn't that look wonderful? I will put this in the freezer or refrigerator in a Ziploc bag with parchment paper between it. And we will have pre-cooked bacon there. We can have bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches, or we can have bacon for breakfast and not have to cook it, and to me that would be nice. Okay, so I have my grease ready to go. It was a little hot, so I turned it down. I like to take just a little pinch of flour to see how hot it is. We're not trying to melt anything, we're just trying to cook the biscuit dough. And we're gonna do it like we did the others. We're just gonna do 3 at a time. And then I've got my pan over here ready to go. They're getting brown. I might have turned it down a little bit low. Let's turn it back up just a little bit. And these, it doesn't matter if you flip them more than one time. That's not going to be an issue with the butter. I recruited Papa. You might hear him in the background. I recruited him to bag up the bacon and to dish up what was left of the filling for this. We will definitely use that in another meal this week. And it's always good to have leftovers. I know a lot of people don't like them, but we don't mind them. I don't want to turn it up too high. I don't want to burn them. But I don't want them sitting in this grease too long either. And so everything inside these is done. What we're looking for is to get it hot enough to just for it to be hot through, so that the cheese is kind of melty, because this is what me and Papa are going to have for supper. The rest of them are going in the refrigerator, so I'm not too awful worried about it. But we do want them pretty warm. Okay. This one's ready to come out. I'm going to put it, can you see? I've got a pan lined with some paper towel. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. This is one thing I don't remember my mom ever making. Now, if she made a savory pie, she put it in a pie dish with a crust, which would be good too. Now, edges are not wanting to stay sealed. That happens sometimes. Probably from me fiddling with them too much. That's so funny. The first can of biscuits had 13 biscuits in it. The second can, only 9. So they're supposed to have 10 biscuits each. That's weird. I'll turn it up just a little bit more. My grease seems to be cooling off. I think these are ready to come out. That'll drain some of that grease off. All right, 3 more and we're done, guys. One thing I like to do also is I like to start with the dishwasher cleaned, everything emptied out, so that as I'm cooking, I can put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher. I also like to try to clean as I go. I'm going to try to get them browned really good. I think they're just about there. I'll turn the eye off so I don't forget that. And these can come out. Put this back and let this cool off. Wow, that was the day, right? So we wound up with 13 chocolate fried pies like my mom made, and we wound up with 9 savory pies. All of the recipes will be in the show notes below, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me in the kitchen. Remember, Nana loves you. Nana's so proud of you. Even on days when we're tired, even on days when we don't think we can do it, right? We can do it together. Never forget you have a friend here. Nana loves you.